Welcome, everyone, to the first official meeting of the JJBA Book Club. Yay, cheers, hello, woo! I am Sean, and I'm joined by Kira,
Hey.
Azara,
I
Angel, and Mia.
It's like reversed for me.
yeah, it's all out of whack for me on my end.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, this week we read the first chapter of Jorge Joestar, and what was everyone's initial thoughts? It was pretty whack.
Um, literally had to reread like some pages twice because I was like, what the hell am I
Yeah.
going on?
Sean, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
No, between between people like being on like a roof, because I was like, this nigga's on roof. So I'm like, why the hell was someone like on a ceiling? And
That was the thing that was most weird for you. I think it was definitely the skin suit thing.
okay, that was weird too.
Can we
Like the skin suit was weird, but when she stepped, like the skin suit was able to hold somebody in it, like it was that fertile, like
Yeah,
no, where it was that like durable.
Fertile! You said fertile. Oh my fucking god.
Okay, my with that scene, my exact thought that like made me super uncomfy was when it was like I don't remember the exact quote, but it was like when Lisa stepped out of the skin suit and she was wearing her under her like
yeah, just an Orsi. Yeah.
Nearly naked.
Like, oh, she's so hot. That's like kind of like incest, right? Like, that's like.
Yeah, and plus, aren't they all like 10?
They're 11. They're 11.
Wait. Let's let Sean read his summary.
I have the quote for that section of the book where Lisa comes out of the suit.
Yeah, this is
She
steps out of the suit.
she tossed Antonio Torres aside, wearing nothing but a corset and her underwear, nearly naked but not at all embarrassed. She seemed supremely comfortable. She was like the women in the theater or printed advertisements, just smaller and not yet as curvy.
But first of all, I thought, why don't they just call her Elizabeth? Because Lisa wasn't used until she was like. Is there a reason
Until
for
like
that?
she like ran off.
Uh,
For alias.
It's because we know her as Lisa, as far as I know. That's just the reason.
George is thinking of her as Lisa, not Elizabeth.
Yeah, I don't think he knew like the Lisa. Like he's like, yeah, Elizabeth. Oh.
But this isn't canon, so
The timeline
Yeah,
is
there's that.
fucked up and out of whack though, because like in this universe, like I guess Trigo or Trig, however you want to refer to him as, doesn't pick her up until she's 12. But in the base series, I'm pretty sure she has a baby.
Hmm.
Didn't need George.
So that was her father.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, you're getting off to live with him. Or like, did she get sent off at Christmas or something?
Hmm.
I wonder.
So I wrote a little summary. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Azara.
hey, it's like I think what Angel was going for is like those Wattpad stories where it's like you're my mom calls me down. She says I hate you. There's a knock at the door. It's One
Here's
Direction.
how.
Here's a style. I'm adopting
My mom is so horrible. She sold me off to One Direction. I tied my messy brown bun and put my blue orbs into my eye sockets and ran downstairs in my Converse and plaid shirt.
Alright, so I wrote a summary of the chapter, and I figured we'd just go through it, and then whenever we want to have something we want to stop on, we'll just jump into it. So, the story begins, and we learn about Jorge Joestar, contender for world's biggest bitch.
Yes. George Joestar is a pussy.
He's the world's biggest pussy.
Hey, leave him alone.
Dude, he is on par with this fucking Frankenstein. He sucks.
Yeah, like, there's Holden Caulfield, and then there's Jorge Joestar on, like, opposite sides of the douchebag spectrum.
Yeah.
because I have no way of defending him. I'm just like, oh, guys.
See, yeah,
Kira, that's
he's
like
10.
up to Jeffrey.
He's 11. Let's he's 11. All right, let's he has a whole extra year of maturity on him than a 10-year-old.
He's a pussy of an 11-year-old.
He is.
He kind of is a bitch.
George is an 11-year.
So scared he left out of his house and like hid in the damn janitor's
Yeah,
closet.
exactly. He's such a small coward. George is an 11-year-old from the Canary Islands who was raised there by Irina and grew up alongside Lisa. George is introduced to the reader by having literal shit shoved up his nose.
Yes, he was.
Yeah, his bullies are trying to make him eat shit, and instead he's like, oh, I managed to get out of it. They only shoved some up my nose. And I was like, that's not a victory.
Bro, that's still an L. What?
I don't know if any of you have seen the movie Step Brothers, but it reminds me of the white dog.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
After George gets the shit out of his nose, George cries, and Lisa kicks the bullies' asses.
Since Lisa's a baddie.
She is a bad bitch in canon and fanon.
On earlier, but does she show up more in this story?
Yes.
Okay, good. Because I'm like, okay, if we get to see more of Lisa, I'm totally on board. And if she's a baddie during this, feel valid.
One thing I kind of felt like Lisa so enjoyed this relationship. It reminded me of like season 1 of Good Samaritan.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. I see what you're saying, too.
Yeah. That's a solid analogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's also incestuous, just like.
Yeah, exactly like it.
God, one of my friends said it was incestuous, and so many people were mad. And I'm like, y'all are defending incest right now, just letting y'all know that.
If they were raised together, that's fucking weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like John and Dior shippers. Like, why?
Ugh.
Oh, God. Ugh. Yeah.
That night, Irina tells George that Lisa is going to live with straights. George then cries because he's a selfish bitch.
Yeah.
Then once Lisa starts crying, he decides to man up in the most cowardly way possible. He tries to avoid his bully, Antonio Torres, by hiding in a shed before school starts.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's our George.
He's like,
Look at him go.
yeah, I'm going to protect myself without Lisa. By hiding.
I-
In a way, like, he was more upset about the fact that, like, oh, who's gonna protect me now?
Yeah. I love that specifically he says, like, when he does the man-up speech in the book, like, he's like, yeah, I could tell neither my grandma nor Lisa believed me when I said it. Like, that's how they know he's a small little coward of a boy.
Little bitch, baby.
Yeah.
Oh, cry.
Yeah.
Shit. Baby shit.
You shitting tongue.
Exactly. George is then immediately accused of murdering Antonio Torres.
Can we talk about the way they were like, yep, it was you, point blank, period. And then when he was like, it wasn't, then suddenly it's like proof. It's like, what the fuck? Like, you're accusing him of murdering somebody, but when he says no, then you didn't even have to. The only proof was, well, it had to been y'all because he was bullying y'all. I'm like, well, maybe then he deserved it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like Lisa, they're like, now it's Lisa now, and then it's like, what? And then like, where's the fuck is Lisa? Lisa's a grade above him, isn't he? Isn't she?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should talk about, I guess, the preface to the murder case, where Antonio Torres is found with all of his blood sucked out, all of the muscle gone, all of his bones missing. He's just a flattened sheet of skin.
Yeah, like,
They like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, like flat Stanley, because
yeah, I was thinking like flat
no
stamp
bones
kind of
or
shit.
anything. And I was like, so you like y'all found out he was like flat, like they vacuum sucked all the inside out of him. So an 11-year-old and like a 12-year-old were capable of that.
I I just want to say like my feelings during this point. Like at the beginning, I was like, okay, this is like kind of wacky. Like this kid's getting bullied, and then as soon as they said that, I was like,
Like,
what?
yeah, I was like, okay.
Like,
To a
I
big
know
180.
It's like something
Yes.
This is like Jorge's crazy
Extravaganza. Escapade.
Yeah.
I want to read a brief passage about what Julio, Antonio's number 2, says about Lisa's punches. Her punches and kicks aren't normal. It's like electric running through you. It feels like your blood's running the wrong direction. She's got some weird power. She used her freaky power to kill Antonio. That's why he died so weird, because of that freak.
Didn't he? Yeah. And then when he was like, oh yeah, she kicked Antonio and he like ran like 10 kilometers.
She punched Antonio the other day and his legs started running on their own. He ran 10 kilometers nonstop all the way to the beach, right into the water, nearly drowned. Holy shit.
Can we fucking talk about how that kid just walked in and unrolled fucking Antonio?
Yeah, he had him like in a little cylinder and was
Yeah.
like,
So,
The police were just like, yes, 11-year-old child, you can take the body.
yeah,
That's fine.
so this is the character that the chapter is named after, Tsukumojuku. So I'll hop on with the description here. Then the most insane CSI episode of all time happens, ending with Antonio's vampire dad dead and Jorge unconscious. Or George unconscious. Azara, you got me saying Jorge again. So, yeah, who wants to explain the murder?
like his dad.
Yeah, because his dad is a vampire, I guess.
Well, first of all, there's what we thought was the solution to the murder case,
Yeah.
where it turns out that Antonio's mother every year skins Antonio and then makes an art piece out of his skin.
And it was 3 days before his birthday. He starts shedding so quickly that she can just cut a little incision and then
He just, his,
off like it
yeah.
takes it off.
He molts like a
He
fucking...
molts.
And
Yeah.
I'd want to preface that in the story up to this point, like, Antonio showed no signs of being abused or, like, having powers or anything. He's just been a bully. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, he has the ability to shed his skin once a year.
Okay, but what confused me, so they found the skin that his mom cut first, right?
Yes.
Okay, and then Lisa, was she wearing the skin she cut or the skin of Antonio?
She was wearing the skin of dead Antonio, so it turns out Tsukumojuku is the detective in George's class, and he comes in and basically unravels this whole case where he's like, hey, yeah, his mom skins him and makes this suit, and he takes out the skin suit and just unravels it in class. And then he's like, but actually I found Antonio. And then Antonio walks in, and then he's like, but this isn't Antonio. This is actually Lisa wearing Antonio's actual dead body. And then Lisa comes out in her underwear from wearing Antonio's dead body that actually had all of the blood and guts sucked out of it.
Oh.
Because she wanted to catch the teacher off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it turns out the principal or teacher or whatever is turned into a zombie and is closing all of the windows, the blinds, so that the hallway is dark. And then Antonio's father, what's his dad's name? I don't know, his vampire dad, Alejandro, I think his name is, starts walking on the ceiling being like, yeah, my son sucks ass, so I ate him. And then I heard he came into school today, so I was kind of confused. And Lisa uses Hamon to kill him and also accidentally knocks George unconscious because George is like, this is the time for me to be a hero, and just runs up and tries to punch the vampire.
Yeah, fucking George was like, wow.
Like, you get beat up by little kids. You're not going to be able to handle a vampire.
Exactly. Like, I want to know what his thought process was during that. Like, why he took one look at Lisa and was like, yeah, I can do that. And Lisa's
He was like, he was also like, don't put your hands on a girl. I'm like, wasn't Lisa like having to step in every other second you were about to get your ass whooped? But yeah, this is the moment when you're like, okay, maybe she shouldn't fight like my battles. What a bitch.
Yeah, seriously.
Seriously. My ass.
Okay, so I know we haven't gotten to this part yet, but after, like, it's like, oh, me and Lisa aren't really, like, friends after this point. And, because she's, like, hanging out with Straizo and, like, learning Hama and stuff, I guess. And that is like, what? And then
We'll get, yeah, we'll get to, I'll jump through the description a little bit. When George wakes up, yeah. When George wakes up, he cries again, vowing to avoid this supernatural stuff forever, like a true coward. George is then visited by the kid detective and Sheldon Cooper's stand-in, Tsukumojuku. Suku then tells George that the god of the world beyond has selected George as the new protagonist of the story. So yeah, what do we think about all that beyond stuff?
That's a Rocky. That's just a Rocky.
Yeah.
I mean,
It makes me wonder if that's like his stand is beyond.
but in execution, it just came off as so fucking weird because the rest of the story is so fucking weird that I was like, this too, like we're doing this too, like this is also happening, I guess. It's like the author was like, how many of my own ideas can I cram into this fucking story?
I know, that's what I love about it. This author said yes to every idea he had.
It was like, yeah, let me go ahead in there real quick. Yeah, that one too.
Like he
He, like,
took
woke up. He was like, wait, this is
This is gold. Magnum opus.
and like the part after, so I'm not too sure what the timeline is here, but I'm pretty sure he and Susan and Susan become like best friends. And
Yes.
then Lisa to leave, and then they have this weird heart-to-heart where
They-
confess to each other.
Yes.
Yeah, he was like, why aren't I a Joestar? I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, George and Lisa also have the least romantic confession scene on the planet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, Lisa takes George aside and is like, you know what, I think I realized why I'm glad I'm not a Joestar. It's so I can marry you one day. And I'm just like, oh.
Like, imagine if someone that you grew up with said that to you. I'd be like,
Yeah.
Yeah, let's stay playful together, bestie.
I want to fuck you. And it's like,
So TLDR, it was fucking weird. There were so
Can we-
many ideas packed into one chapter that it like.
I felt like it jumped around. Like,
I
it was
s-
just like, oh, by the way.
I still have one sentence left, alright? Suku and George become best friends until Suku dies at sea 2 pages later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was like, wait, I thought we were on the Canary Islands. Why are they in Florida?
That's like
I was like, Stone Ocean? What the fuck?
I feel Tsukumojuku is a little bit of a racist stereotype. May I
Maybe?
go there?
Yeah, of course.
Let's see.
And oh my god, what was I gonna say? I do not remember.
Because he was like the cool, he even brought up, he was like, why am I being bullied for being British? There's a whole Asian dude over there. And I was like, that's kind of...
Yeah, someone brought that up on my Discord. They're like, low-key, I think George might be racist.
George was like, why? I thought us white people were supposed to stick to...
Okay, but like this was written by a Japanese person, right?
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like the Asian kid was like all cool and like quiet and like really smart. And like the one person of color...
I did not know that it was written by an Asian or a Japanese person, so that it could not be racist. But George is a little racist. I think.
Yes.
Very much. Why aren't y'all bullying the Asian kid? Why am I getting this? Y'all should just smearing shit on his face, not mine. No.
Yeah, but he makes friends with them and like gets character development.
Yeah.
So, that's his little token.
So it turns out that George and Tsukumojuku, they wind up like solving like serial murder cases together, and like so George is like his Watson as they go on like, it sounded like what it sounds like 5 seasons of a detective TV show together.
Mm-hmm.
I just, throughout the entire chapter, I kept on thinking to myself, there's no way this can get any weirder. And then it kept on.
Yeah, it just keep on
Did you
going.
guys start chapter 2? Like, I'm not gonna really talk about it, but did you guys start chapter 2?
No, I haven't. I read
No,
it
I'm-
full sentences, and I was like,
Yeah.
what? And then Sean was there, so he was like, stop reading, and I was like, fine, but like, what the fuck?
I know. I read like the first like page, and I was like, okay. Slow
Yeah,
down.
I was like, I don't.
Before I have Azara.
Go and look at it. I'm not even gonna. Cause
All right.
now we're jumping around.
So what's our prediction for next chapter?
I feel like old boy didn't really die.
You think Tsukumojuku is still alive?
I think he is somehow still alive.
I have no way of predicting what's gonna happen because I just feel like whatever I say, this author is gonna throw some shit at me that I couldn't even possibly have ever even thought.
Yeah, 'cause I wouldn't have thought like vampires on a roof in skin suits.
I wouldn't have thought skin suits.
Yeah, so like this isn't really a stand or anything. Like just to reiterate for the audience out there, like this kid just developed the ability to shed his skin like a snake once a year.
Yeah.
Like not a stand ability.
Natural adaptation to the environment.
And his mom was like, let me just like
Use that for
harvest your skin. And they remember they went in depth. They were like, you could see where she would sew it together because it was kind of like a bad sewing job. But over the years, it got better. I'm like,
Yeah, like they specifically said like she like coated the inside and the outside with like wax.
rubbing with body oil.
And when she was getting dragged away by the police, she rubbed her face against it one last time. Ugh.
And then it was like, find out they weren't even Spanish. They were British. And I was like, not Brit on Brit crime.
Oh, I want to just read out what Antonio's like insult was while he was getting the shit beaten out of him by Lisa, because he had a really intense insult that made George cry.
Is whenever they kept saying Antonio, I thought of like not my little chef, beating up little kid. Come on, bestie. Kids, bestie.
So Antonio goes to George. Bwahaha! You got saved by a girl again, Blasa Blanca, which means white raft. Your dick wouldn't even work as an oar.
Oh
Yeah, I was like, war.
It's like, I can't even describe the emotion that I was.
He compared his dick to a metal or a valuable mineral.
I just, I want to know what some thoughts were as they were reading this because surely no one saw what was coming. Like, it's that.
I want to know who proofread this. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Like, this seems good. This seems like, it's also very poorly written.
Yes.
Say that. Like, it's a shitty ass book. Like, this is not, it's not well written. Like,
Not even a little.
Yeah, the language.
Okay, but like this was written originally in Japanese and translated into English. So, like, there's that too. There could be like.
This is a fan translation. This is not an official translation.
Yeah.
Okay, this fan was the ass whoop.
Like, in Japanese it could probably, I don't know if it's like reads any better because I don't know Japanese, but like this is Japanese to English translation. And I mean Araki, like this is official, like Araki like did this I was reading the wiki, like not like what happens but like the background, and it was like for the 25th anniversary of JoJo. And Araki, like, yeah, he drew the cover art and everything, but, like, it's not canon, but it's officiated by Araki.
Like, he acknowledged it and was like, okay.
Like Purple Haze.
Yeah, like Purple Haze.
Level of Purple Haze feedback though.
Yes.
Spin-offs are on the same level. Think about that.
Yeah.
Okay, but from what I've heard about Purple Haze feedback, because I haven't read it, is, like, it could possibly be canon, because it's, like, after part 5. Like, I haven't read it, but, like, this...
Yep.
Yeah, this one, nah.
Yeah. That one we'd stayed aside.
That stays, like, true to, like, the canon. This is just all over the fucking place.
Yeah,
Like, there are some of the kind of things that are like personality-wise and stuff.
Oh yeah, I heard Jordan's like a dick. And
I heard Mista's a dick.
Mista's a huge dick in it.
Not Mista.
Like, from what I've heard, like, I don't know. I mean, maybe technically speaking, with what happened after, like, with everyone fucking dying, he might have acted that way. Because I've just heard about parts of it, but
I mean, that's understandable. But,
yeah,
we just
but
be mean.
also at
Don't
the
get
same
too attached to
time,
somebody.
like, Mista is just such a fun-loving guy. Like, I don't know if that would change so much.
Well, we'll have time to get into Purple Haze feedback because that's our book after George Joestar. So we'll save the Purple Haze feedback talk for that. Azara, you did read the first page of chapter 2. Do you want to try to guess at what's going to happen next?
Okay, so I do know specific things because I saw a video about it that this other George Joestar that's in Japan is an alternate universe George Joestar, and from what I've heard and from what I've read, like, he is really good at solving crimes. So I kind of am going with that theory that the Japanese guy from before in the first chapter is, like, maybe alternate version George Joestar in this chapter. I'm not sure though, but
I don't think the authors themselves are sure.
Yeah.
yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised given the shit that's been thrown at me already. So, but at this point, I'm ready for anything.
I'm scrolling through the chapter real quick and I'm seeing like a lot of like numbers and maps.
There's pictures.
Yeah, like I was like, what is this?
Okay.
I'm like,
Alright, so does anybody have anything else they want to say about chapter 1 of George Joestar?
Don't read it.
Watch us read it instead.
yeah, just watch us converse about it and then you'll just like understand. You don't even understand it.
We'll read it for you.
The one thing, like, I'm interested so far is, like, I want to know how this is going to lead us to novel cars and
Yeah.
Valentine's.
Yeah. Funniest, funnier. Cause I was looking through like the wiki, I was like, what the hell is this? I'm like, are these like different art? Cause I was like, this is like the George Joestar, and then like my mind was like, nah, this is still borrowed. And I was like, what's going on? So then there's like 2 Diegos, and I was like, maybe it's like 20 different Valentines, and you have slightly funny Valentine. Comedic genius funny Valentine. So,
Like-
I don't know what the hell's going on.
Alright, so I think we're ready to end discussion 1 there.
Yep.